Tissue processing describes the steps of the required to take an animal or human tissue from the fixation to the state and where it is completely infiltrated the suitable histopathological vaccine and can be templated ready for the section splitting in the microbome. The tissue processing can be performed manually hand processing, but where the multiple specimens must be dealt with and it is more convenient and much more plentiful specimens must be efficient to use an automated tissue processing machine and it is also called as a tissue processor. These devices have been available since the 1940s and have slowly evolved to be a safer in use and handling larger specimen numbers, process more quickly and to produce better quality outcomes. So there are two main types of the processors. Firstly, the tissue processing for the dip and dump machines, where the specimens are transferred from the tissue transfer and container to the processor, and the fluid processing to the form container where the specimen are held in a single processing chamber and reports. Other fluids are pumped and also as required. Most modern fluid processing are pumped with temperature, effective fluid circulation and incorporate vacuum pressure cycle and to enhance processing and reduce processing times. The next, first, for example, obtaining a fresh tissue specimen will come from the various sources. It should be noted that they can very easily be damaged during removal from the patient or experimental animal. It is important that they are handled carefully and approximately fixed as soon as possible after dissection. Ideally, fixation should take place at the site of the removal, perhaps in the operating theatre, and not possible immediately following transport to the laboratory. The next step is fixation. The specimen is placed in a liquid fixative agent like formaldehyde specimen and also formalin, and this will slowly penetrate the tissue causing chemical and physical damage that will harden and preserve the tissue and protect it against subsequent processing steps. There are limited number of reagents that can be used for the fixation as they must possess a particular property and make them suitable for this purpose. For example, tissue components must retain some chemical subsequently and also formalin usually phosphate buffer solution. It is the most popular fixate way for the preserving tissues that will be processed. To prepare a paraffin sections, ideally specimens should remain in fixative for the long enough for the fixative to penetrate into every part of the tissue and then for additional periods to allow the chemical reactions of fixations and equivalent fixation time. Generally, this will mean that the specimen should fix for between 6 and 24 hours. Most laboratories will use a fixative stamp as the first station in the procedure, and following fixation, the specimen may require further dissection to select the appropriate area. So, the duration of the processing should be used to process the specimen will depend on the type of dimension of the largest and smallest specimen, but the particular processor employed, the solvents chosen, and the solvent temperature are also other factors. The following example is based on a 6-hour schedule suitable for use in lace-up and rapid tissue processing. The next is dehydration. Because melted paraffin wax is hydrophobic, immiscible with water, and most of the water in a specimen must be removed before it can be infiltrated with wax. and this process is commonly carried out by the immersing specimens in a series of ethanol solutions of increasing concentration until pure water-free alcohol is reached, and ethanol is miscible with water in all proportion, and water in the concentration is used to avoid excessive distortion of the tissue. Unfortunately, although the tissue is now essentially water-free and still can't infiltrate it with wax because wax and ethanol are largely immiscible, and they also have to use an intermediate solvent that is fully miscible with both ethanol and paraffin wax. This solvent will displace the ethanol in the tissue, then will be displayed by the molten paraffin wax, and this stage is called as clearing, and the reagent used is called a clearing reagent. And the term clearing was chosen because many clearing agents impart an optical clarity and transparency to the tissue due to their relatively high reflective index. Another important role of the clearing agent is to remove a substantial amount of the fat from the tissue, which otherwise presents a barrier to wax infiltration. This tissue can now be infiltrated with a suitable histological wax. And although many different reagents have been evaluated and used for the purpose of over many years, and the paraffin wax based histological waxes are the most popular. A typical wax is liquid at 60 degrees Celsius and can be infiltrated into the tissue at the temperature then allowed to the cool to 20 degrees Celsius. Now that the specimen is thoroughly infiltrated with wax, and it must be formed into a block which can be clamped into a microtomb for section cutting, and this step is carried out using an embedding center where a mold is filled with a modern molten wax and the specimen placed into it. The specimen is very carefully orientated in the mold because its placement will determine the plane of the section. An important consideration in both diagnostic and research histology. A cassette is placed on top of the mold and topped up with more wax, and the whole thing is placed on a cold plate to solidify. Although xylene is used widely as a clearing for the tissue processing, it is a toxic reagent, and some laboratories prefer to use less toxic alternatives such as isopropanol and other xylene substitutes. For this method to be a successful, higher wax temperature are required so that isopropanol can be eliminated from the specimen during infiltration. Thank you. Namaste, I am JVN Shamala Siddiqui, Faculty of Physiotherapy and Diagnostic. Today this video I will talk about body temperature measurement and role of hypothalamus and fever. So what is body temperature? Body core temperature and skin temperature. The temperature of the deep tissues of the body, the core of the body remains very constant within a 1 Fahrenheit and 0.6 Celsius except when a person develops a febrile illness. Indeed, a nude person can be exposed to a temperature as low 55 degrees Fahrenheit and as high 13 degrees Fahrenheit in dry air and still maintain an almost constant temperature. The mechanism for the regulating body temperature represents a beautifully designed control system. In this chapter, we discuss this system as it operates in health and disease. The skin temperature, in contrast to the core temperature, rises and falls with the temperature of the surrounding. The skin temperature is important when we refer to the skin's ability to lose heat to the surrounding and normal core temperature. No single core temperature can be considered a normal because measurement in many healthy people have showing a normal temperature measurement orally. So, the average normal core temperature is generally considered to be of between 98 degrees Celsius and 98.6 Fahrenheit when measured orally and about higher when measured rectally, and the body temperature increases during exercise and varies the temperature extremes of the surrounding because the temperature regulatory mechanisms are not perfect. When excessive heat is produced in the body by strenuous exercise and the temperature can rise temporarily high as 101 Fahrenheit and to 104 Fahrenheit. Conversely, when the body is exposed to extreme cold, the temperature can fall below 96 Fahrenheit. So, how body temperature is controlled by the balancing heat production and heat loss. When the rate of the heat production of the body is greater than the rate at which heat is being lost, heat build up in the body and the body temperature rises. Conversely, when heat loss is greater but both body heat and body temperature decreases. So most of the remainder of this chapter is concerned with the balance between heat production and heat loss and the mechanism by which the body controls each of these. So heat production is the principle by the product of the metabolism. So the most important of these factors are firstly basal rate of the metabolism of all the cells of the body. Secondly, extra rate of the metabolism caused by the muscles activity including muscles contraction caused by shivering. The next is extra metabolism caused by the effect of thyroxine, and the fourth one is extra metabolism caused by the effect of epinephrine, neuropeptide and sympathetic stimulation on the cells. Extra metabolism caused by the increased chemical activity in the cell themselves, especially when the cell's temperature increasing, and extra metabolism needed for digestion, absorption and storage of the food, thermogenic effects of the food. So most of the heat produced in the body is generated in the deep organs, especially in the liver, brain and heart, and in the skeletal muscles during exercise. Then this heat is transferred from the deeper organs and tissues in the skin, where it is lost to the air and surrounding. Therefore, the rate at which heat is lost to determine almost entirely by two factors. Firstly, how rapidly can be heat conducted from where it is produced the body core to the skin, and how rapidly heat can be transferred from the skin to the surrounding. Let us begin by discussing the system that insulate the core from the skin surface. And the skin, the subcutaneous tissue and especially the fat of the subcutaneous tissue act together a heat insulator for the body. So heat conduction to the skin by the blood is controlled by the degree of the vasoconstriction of the arteriole and the arteriovenous anastomosis that supply blood to the venous plexus of the skin, and the vasoconstriction is controlled almost entirely by the sympathetic nervous system.